Who is the Reverse Flash? This is not a simple question. We have this guy, then there's this guy, and then there's this guy. Oh, and I suppose you can count this kid. And even though he doesn't get counted often, you can technically count Rival. Now, the situation can easily get confusing, so we're gonna go over each of these individuals and let you know who the true Reverse Flash is. First up, we have Rival if we go in the order of appearances. He recreated the formula that granted Jay Garrick his speed, the Velocity 9. There really isn't that much more on him. His speed is only temporary and therefore he eventually gets slow. And that's when Jay catches him. As the story goes, he's one of the first speedsters to run so fast that he merged with the Speed Force. He eventually returned as pure Speed Force and used that to merge with other individuals until defeated. Next up is Eobard Thawne, arguably the most famous of the Reverse Flashes. He is from the future, the 25th century to be specific. He became obsessed with the Flash in his own time period and he found a way to duplicate his powers and he traveled back in time to meet the Flash. But it's there he learns that he is to become the Flash's greatest enemy and die by his hand. He's already an unstable individual and learning that he'll eventually become a villain, he slips into actually becoming the villain that we come to know him as. Now this is where the whole naming situation gets a bit weird. He's Eobard Thawne, also Professor Zoom, also Reverse Flash. One guy has been called all of the names, starting the confusion of who is who. It's actually no different than other individuals in the DC and other superhero universes. Like, take Batman for example. He's the Batman, the Caped Crusader, and the Dark Knight. This was fine at the time as he was the only villain at the time battling against Barry Allen, which at this time was the only Flash. But things got confusing with Hunter Zolomon. Once Wally West, the writers at the time decided that he needed his own supervillain. If Eobard Thawne was so evil to Barry because his origin tied the two of them together, why not create a similar villain tied into Wally for him to fight? Hunter Zolomon was in the FBI, and a series of events caused him to lose his wife, his father-in-law, and get fired from his job. He ended up in Keystone City where he joined the police department and became friends with Wally West. But during a guerrilla attack on the city, Grodd broke his neck, leaving him paralyzed. He begged Wally to run back in time and alter the time stream, fixing everything that went wrong for him. But Wally refused. So Hunter Zolomon found the cosmic treadmill and he tried to do it himself. It exploded, granting him his own powers and the ability to move time around him, making it look like he was traveling at super speeds. Realizing that he was basically a new speedster villain for the new Flash, he chose to take the name and the colors of Eobard Thawne, becoming the new Zoom, or the new Reverse Flash. Now, this is simple to understand. A new Flash meant a new Reverse Flash. Wally fought Zoom from around the time of 2001 to 2009 during his stint, and there was no Eobard Thawne on the scene. Anything before that was Eobard Thawne. So if you saw a Reverse Flash from the 90s, that was Eobard Thawne. If you saw a Reverse Flash from the 2000s with the darker eyes, that was Hunter Zolomon. So it was kind of easy to understand. The things got even more confusing when we entered Flash Rebirth, a comic that brought back Barry Allen, Eobard Thawne, and a ton of other speedsters. At this time, most comic fans referred to Eobard Thawne as Reverse Flash and Hunter Zolomon as Zoom to help with their own confusion. But DC wasn't happy with that answer. Comics have always been a massive wall to try and get into, and adding two characters with similar costumes going by similar names doesn't help the situation for new readers. While a lot of times Eobard went by Reverse Flash, many writers still brought up his original name, Professor Zoom, and then we had Zoom. Even comic book fans can get lost when it comes to that. Well, in 2011, a new era in DC began, the New 52. One of the things that they claimed that they were going to do in the New 52 was clean up the confusing bits of DC Comics. Whether or not they did is a discussion for an entirely different video that I keep meaning to make, but they thought of a simple answer for the Professor Zoom confusion. Remove them both. They brought in a new Reverse Flash, Daniel West, and literally dubbed him Reverse Flash. This is the guy. He is the Reverse Flash. He's the only Reverse Flash. His storyline is that through a Speed Force related incident, he gained his powers and then he was trying to sap the Speed Speed Force out of other people granted with Speed Force powers. He was evil, demented, and he had a really awesome black and red costume to help him stand out from the other Reverse Flashes. DC wanted this to be your guy, the Flash's evil nemesis. And while he was good at his job and an alright villain, he was no Professor Zoom. Professor Zoom was so good at his job as the Flash's arch nemesis because they created each other. Eobard Thawne killed Barry's mother, driving him to become the Flash, which would then allow the Flash to become Eobard Thawne's idol, creating a chain of events. Neither could kill or remove the other because it would then eradicate the other individual. They were stuck in a perpetual battle that could never end. This wasn't the case with Daniel West, but this was an easy fix, honestly. There was no Zoom, and there was no Professor Zoom, just Reverse Flash. So eventually they brought back Eobard Thawne as Professor Zoom, once again going by the names Eobard Thawne, Professor Zoom, or just Zoom. This leaves us with only Reverse Flash and Zoom, two completely different villains that the Flash has fought against right now in comics. We also would now have Godspeed, another speedster villain, but luckily they thought enough to not give him a yellow costume and call him Reverse Flash Godspeed. Nope, they gave him a new name, which gives us three speedster villains, Reverse Flash, Zoom, and Godspeed. And currently Reverse Flash is dead, so honestly we only have Professor Zoom and Godspeed, both of which are just faster villains than the Flash. Either way, regardless of Reverse Flash being dead, it's not gonna last very long. There's already a plot line coming up where they're exploring his death. Anyway, in the TV show, they went with the cleaner versions of this villain's history and kept them looking separate, giving us Eobard and Hunter as Reverse Flash and Zoom. Same idea as New 52's Daniel West and Eobard, but they kept the original guys, ignoring the New 52 villain. Oh, and remember the kid Zoom that I mentioned? Yeah, he's Bart Allen's villain, a clone of Bart. It's a really minor storyline, so don't worry about him, as both Bart and Inertia have been wiped from existence as of 2011. Now, the last thing I want to answer about the whole Reverse Flash situation is their power sets. So the whole idea with the Reverse Flash is basically changed around and altered in all kinds of weird things. The idea basically is that they are always faster than the Flash, be it the ability to just slow down time around the Flash so that he can't even be fast enough, or to gain negative Speed Force powers, which is how he's able to go faster than the Flash, or to be able to do different Speed Force based abilities, which involves him falling into the Speed Force. It's a long, confusing thing, but regardless of it being a time alteration ability or a faster than the Flash ability, the end is they are fast individuals, which is how come they're able to fight against the Flash. They're the only people that can move as fast as him. I hope this helped you all with the confusion that is the Reverse Flash, and it helps you understand all of the villains that are in the TV shows, the comic books, and all of this kind of nonsense that's going on. As of right now, we do not have Hunter Zolomon back in the comic books. That does not mean that he is not going to be reintroduced, but I highly doubt he's going to go by the name Zoom, Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom, any of that nonsense. They're probably going to give him a new name and a new costume and just use the name Hunter Zolomon to keep their cleaner villain history clean. Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel to get up to date on all the information you need to know about comic books in general, the TV shows and the movies, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian, where I can talk to you about anything. Have a good night.